Okay, so I've been holding off making a video on the Studio Series 86 line not because it's a contentious subject for a lot of people, which it absolutely is, but because there just wasn't enough information about it. But we just had a whole mess of legitimate info drops and pictures, so let's talk about it. Let me start off by addressing the controversy hitting a lot of fans of the Studio Series. If you're not in the know, the Studio Series is a toy line that to this point has catered exclusively to the live-action fans. There are a large number of people right now very upset that the 86 line is getting made at all, seeing it as a betrayal of the line, and they are sick of seeing the G1 fans get catered to over everyone else in the fandom. Let me play devil's advocate a bit here. 1. Just because the G1ers want something doesn't make it a bad thing to get. And 2. This isn't the end of the Studio Series as you knew it. The Bumblebee figures came out at the same time as the other Studio Series figures, so more than likely they will continue to release non-86 figures with the 86 line. They will just share shelf space. Also, even were the 86 figures to displace the rest of the Studio Series entirely for a period of time, it would not be permanent. There are only so many 86 characters they can do. It's just one movie, and at absolute, complete, and total maximum, this line will only continue until the next live-action movie comes out. And that's the worst possible case scenario for people who are fans of the movie design. Most likely, you will see 86 and regular Studio Series figures sharing pegs together. So, you will be getting what you want, they will be getting what they want, and guess what? For the first time in 20 years, Beast Wars fans are also getting what we want. Everyone wins. For the first time in a very, very long time, Hasbro is giving the vast majority of the fandom some attention. Don't get upset at this because this is a great time to be a Transformers fan. Also, to be a little less diplomatic, Studio Series are massive shelf warmers where I live. No one buys these things at any of the stores I visit. The day of writing this script, I was at Walmart, and there were at least 40 Studio Series boxes just hanging on pegs. And they've all been there the last 3 times I visited. Tons of World War II hot rods, sound waves, and RCs. Though, to be fair, it could quite possibly be that this wave is just comprised of a bunch of characters that no one cares about. I mean, really, does anyone care about Movie RC who showed up for 5 seconds and died? Or Satellite Soundwave, a character who showed up for 2 seconds and then never did again? Or World War II hot rod, a character I don't even know actually appeared in the film at all? Anyways, while I can't attest to the rest of the country, just my little area of it, I have to ask, can you really blame Hasbro for making a product they know will sell, when as far as I can tell, they've run into a rut with, at very least, the current line of Studio Series figures? Well, that was a lot of prelude. Let's talk about the figures. Let's start low and work our way up in terms of my excitement. Blur. Hey guys, look! I'm reviewing me! Damn, I'm ugly! Seriously, why is Blur's chin as big as an animated character's when Blur in animated had one of the smallest chins? And he's also got some Siege Meg's lips going on there. This doesn't even remotely look like Blur. The box art looks like him, so why doesn't he look like the box art? He's also got some wonk-ass proportions. His forearms look about as big as his entire torso, and his legs are super short looking. Weird for a runner. Instead of making these parts hinge down, they should have put them on a swiveling bracket and allowed them to do this. This looks like it's going to be a heavy retool of the Titans Return figure. The legs are clearly working in a similar way, the hands are clearly working in a near identical way, and I think even the stomach is working the exact same way, with the chair folding in and the windshield covering it. Though this time I think the windshield is going to swivel to do that. Vehicle mode is looking solid, but the nose cone is a little goofy. It's just a little too narrow and swept down, probably so it forms the cleanest against the robot back as possible. But I don't know. While I think the issues with the robot mode could easily be fixed with a slight amount of re-engineering, at this point, I think it would just be better to get one mode that's the spitting image of what it should be. Hot rod. Okay, so I think this almost looks great, but I got one serious issue here. I am damn certain that is a faux forming chest. It's clearly not the right shape between modes, it doesn't have the collar, the headlights aren't extending far enough, and it's clearly deeper than the front of the car looks to be. I think that this picture here practically confirms it. Seriously, you guys? This is official product photography! Why do you keep horribly mistransforming the figures? But yeah, you can see the actual hood of the car seems to have these components attached the opposite of how they would have to be if this were the actual chest of the robot. Faux forming isn't quite as bad as parts forming, but it always leaves me feeling empty. Like it just feels like I cheated every time I transform a figure with faux parts. Outside that, this is looking really good. It's also coming with a lot of accessories. And even with all the faux forming, the transformation seems like it's probably going to be a decent one. Once again, I'm getting vibes of the Titans Return figure. I gotta point out that box art. Why does he look so puffy and big? Did they decide to bring back that hack scumbag Pat Lee to do the art? I mean, obviously not. This is clearly better than anything he ever drew. Citation needed that he ever actually drew anything and didn't just steal credit for it. Ugh, that's enough complaining about Dreamwave. Hell, I never read a single thing they made. What am I bitching about? Oh wait, he's a Voyager? He's looking kinda puny for a Voyager. I guess I'll have to see him in person to know if he's actually small. I swear, if he's just a deluxe with more accessories than normal, I don't know about you all, but most of these are going to go in a drawer and never come out. So I suppose I'll pose the question, did these look like they justify another $10 to you if he's just a deluxe with more than normal accessories? Cup. Okay, serious Titans Return vibes, right? Like, it looks great, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for this. As cool as the Titans Return figure is, it looks nothing like the character it's supposed to be. So I will snap this up at the first opportunity. Though he is looking a little malnourished, he looks old. God, how old would he have to get to look older than he did? Cybertronians live hundreds of millions of years. Anyways, Titans Return feels don't just come from the fact that he's clearly rocking the Titan Return cab in his chest, though it is obviously transforming differently here, because that's not compressed at all. But those legs are screaming to me that they are going to do the same thing that the Titans Return figure did, which I'm all fine and good with. That was a crazy cool thing they figured out they could do with those legs, and it's gone on to be a staple part of transforming design possibilities. Each time it gets used, it gets slimmer and better looking, and it turns into the most perfect Cup vehicle ever made. Real talk, I always despised Cup's alternate mode. I'd kind of forgotten that. It's a small, one-seater pickup, but it has no tailgate on the back, so anything you put in there is just going to fall out the moment you drive off. That always drove me nuts as a kid. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing this, it actually makes me want it more. It's just an awful design for a practical vehicle. Real Talk Part 2. For years I thought Cup's name was Cop, or maybe I thought it was his job title, so it's what Hot Rod called him because Hot Rod was an anti-authority teen, so his alt mode confused me even further. Cop is a better name for Cup than Cup. His box art looks more like he's supposed to than the figure does. It's a little puffier, the exact opposite effect that the Hot Rod had. I just realized this second. He looks like Willem Dafoe. They really should have done something about the accessory fitting into his hand properly. It looks like a PKE meter. Hot Rod had open hands, so why doesn't this? Scourge. Ah, the perennial shell former. I have high hopes for this to not be one for the very first time. He looks good, as opposed to the Hot Rod. He looks big like a Voyager should. He's also got his creepy fingies. Based on the fact that his head ends up on his back, I really think this may not be a shell former. I can see hints of how he transforms, like how the arms hinge down to the sides. It looks really promising. Though, the way the head hides up top is, a little silly. I'm not even a big Scourge fan. I'm just excited that we get one that for the first time ever looks right. Next up, we got Jazz. And pun intended, I am jazzed for this. I'm sorry you all had to hear that. But yeah, my collection has had a Jazz-sized hole in it since my entire life. No, the power of the primes does not count. Jazz was one of my favorite characters since I could basically form sentences, and the fact that there's never been a masterpiece or just an even decent Jazz in general is a crime. He's so goddamn cool. Scatman Crothers was taken before his time, and I need an idol of something he played in my life, and I will take a Jazz or a Hong Kong Phooey, whichever I can get my hands on. And this looks basically perfect, guys. He does come across a little puffy, like the artwork, so interesting, but that is Jazz's face, unlike some other horrifying faceless abominations. What was so hard about doing this? Vehicle mode also looks basically perfect. It's got a tiny amount of robot kibble on the back, but I just can't care. This is going to fill a big space in my collection that's been sorely empty for the longest time when it finally comes out. Love that artwork. Perfectly Jazz. Before I move on to the big kahuna, I want to talk about the line-wide box gimmick. These inserted sleeves that have a scene from the movie. I just really don't care about these. They don't really display all that well, I think. The Kingdom boxes are so cool, I'm planning on displaying them on their own. But these might just end up in the trash. Except for the Jazz one, because that smile's infectious. You know, I thought I'd be more excited for this than the Jazz, but I'm not actually sure. I mean, I'm an absolute slut for Grimlock. Was that too creepy? I think that might have been too creepy. I'm an absolute mark for Grimlock. Offer me the opportunity to give you money for a Grimlock, and you will be a rich man. Well, as rich as my perpetually broke ass can make you, that is. This looks like this might be pretty big. I'm hoping it's really big. Like, bring back the old leader size class, please. The one problem I'm really seeing is that his chest is more mustard colored than it is gold, and I'm hoping his shoulders can go out a bit further than just that. Also, his hands hinge the wrong way, though I guess he doesn't come with a sword. That makes this less of an issue than it otherwise typically would be for a Grimlock, but this is absolutely going to get upgrade kits that come with a sword, so it should still hinge back, not in. Does this not have ankle tilts? Also, the head's okay, but I'm a bigger fan of the more sleek Masterpiece-style head, but this still looks pretty solid. On to the Dino mode, and okay guys, what the hell? You seriously only took pictures of the side with the screw holes? Who are these amateur idiots? I'm a better photographer than they are, and I didn't go to college for photography. This looks pretty good. Probably better than the actual Masterpiece, but to be clear, that's not hard. Though that wheelie, he's clearly not a Transformer, and his knees and elbows clearly do not bend. That is going in the drawer with the Hot Rod accessories. What can I say? They had me at Grimlock, but this does look great. Great in robot mode, great in Dino mode. Hopefully they'll insert some pieces to cover those screw holes though. And that's not half of what I had to say, but it's enough of what I have to say. Anyways, I know you know what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.